Hello everyone, this is Jay Wingrow and welcome to Think Like a Software Engineer, episode 18. Sometimes downloading a programming language can be more difficult than learning the basics of that language itself, which is unfortunate because many people who try to start learning languages may just cease doing so when they can't even download this stupid language. Now, each language is downloaded in a completely different way. And if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you can run into numerous roadblocks. Let's try to download a bunch of different languages that I don't normally use and I don't have on my computer. And let's see what happens. So the first language that we're going to try to download is Elm. Now, there's a beautiful centered button, install, right there. I assume that's where we need to go. Okay, the very first tip regarding installing anything is to note which operating system you are using, as in many cases the instructions differ based on your operating system. Are you on a Windows, Mac, or Linux? I happen to be on a Mac at this moment. So I'm going to click on the Mac installer. That downloaded a file which goes directly to my downloads folder. We can see it in the corner of our eye. In the bottom left hand of our browser, it is a PKG file, which is a special package file for a Mac that is an executable file. That is, if you click on the file here, or if you double click on it from Finder, which is Mac's file manager, it will actually run a little wizard. So this is the wizard. It says this package will install Elm on your machine. Let's continue. It says that this will take 26.9 megabytes of space on your computer. We will install anyway. It asks us for our password. And the installation was completed successfully. Although we're about to move on to our next language, it's a good idea to check that our installation has worked correctly. Usually there's a simple command that comes with each language that you can run in your terminal, and that will allow us to check. In this case, it says after installing through any of those routes, you will have the Elm binary available in your terminal. What that means is that you can run the Elm command. If that does something, that means that we've downloaded Elm correctly. So I'm going to open my terminal. Now, sometimes if you've already had your terminal open beforehand while installing the language, you may have to close out the terminal and restart it. So let's close this out. I'll force quit, and then I'm going to restart the terminal and zoom it up and type in Elm. And since it does stuff instead of saying, I don't know what you're talking about, that means, at least to some extent, we've installed Elm correctly. Okay, that wasn't too painful. Let's move on to the next language, which is Erlangs. This is the homepage for the Erlang programming website. So let's go to downloads. Now, this page isn't as intuitive. There is stuff, a README file, a source file, Windows, HTML, man pages file. When you see lots of stuff, you sort of want to scope out the whole page and see what's there. Perhaps there is going to be various choices of how to download it, and maybe we're going to find one that is easier than others. Now here, I've already spotted a section here that should make the process easy, and that is the pre-built binary packages. So it says most operating system package managers provide pre-built binary packages. Okay, what are package managers? Package managers are tools that you could run from your terminal whose sole purpose is to download stuff from the internet and install it correctly on your computer. Here we can see 5 different package managers that we can technically choose from, although not all of them are available on all operating systems. However, we can see that there are 2 for OS X, which is the Mac operating system. There is Homebrew and MacPorts. I already have Homebrew installed on my Mac. Now, if you don't have Homebrew installed on your Mac, you will not be able to do this. So you have to first install Homebrew. Thankfully, installing Homebrew is very easy. Let's Google Homebrew and go to the homepage for Homebrew. And we can actually see that installing Homebrew is as simple as copying and pasting this command into your terminal. Now, how does that work? If you look carefully, you can see that there is this word curl. Curl is a tool available to the Mac terminal that downloads stuff from the internet. So this is sort of a turtles all the way down kind of thing. We use curl in our terminal to download Homebrew, which itself is a tool for downloading other stuff in your terminal. In any case, I already happen to have Homebrew installed, so we're going to go back to the Erlang instructions. And if you have Homebrew, all you need to do to download Erlang on your computer is throw in this command, copy and paste it into your terminal, brew install Erlang. So let's do that. Okay, it is done. Now I can see here that there's this message here in the terminal that says access them with ERL. It looks like ERL may be that special command for our terminal that the Erlang language comes with. So I'm going to type in ERL and hope that that does something. And it does. It looks like it brings me into some sort of Erlang command line, an Erlang shell, which I have no idea how to get out of. Quit, exit, Control C. Aha. Let's abort. Okay. In any case, it looks like we've got Erlang installed. Let's move on to the next language, PHP. This is the homepage for PHP. Let's go to the downloads section. Now here, there is really not a lot of information. There's different, I don't even know what this is. It looks like there are different versions of PHP that we could install. So it makes sense perhaps to download the current stable version, which happens to be 7.3.4 as of this moment. Now, it doesn't give us different installation instructions for varying operating systems. What it does have here are various tar files. Now, what is a tar file? A tar file is a kind of archived file. If you're familiar with a zip file, basically a tar file or a zip file or other kind of archive files are simply a file that really consists of other files. It's just that they're compressed together into a single file. But once you download it, you can uncompress it. You can unzip it, or in this case, we will untar it. Now, it gives us 3 choices. The truth is that these are all the same variations on the same theme. Really, any one of them will do. Now, tar files are generally for either Mac or Linux operating systems. We can see that there is a separate link here for Windows downloads, which brings us to some zip files that we can download. However, since I am on a Mac, we're going to go back and download really any one of these tar files should do. So the file has successfully downloaded. We need to unzip it, so to speak. So we need to click on it, or if we were in the Finder window, we would double click on it. And here we can see that it is expanding the file. And now in our downloads folder, beside the tar file, which we can now get rid of and move to trash, we have the PHP-7.3.4 folder, which has all of the PHP files within it, which apparently must be all we need to get started. So this is actually a different kind of installation. This is an installation when you're just downloading a zip or a tar, you're just getting a bunch of folders and files, and that's it. When it came to downloading the other languages, it not just downloaded files deep within the bowels of your operating system, but it also created commands that we could run in our terminal. It appears that PHP isn't that kind of language. And in order to work with these kinds of folders and files and how to proceed from here, you'd really have to go to the documentation to figure out how to use PHP. So as you can see, downloading things like programming languages isn't as difficult once you know what you are doing. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again next week.